maybe we wait. There's a few more people coming. Waiting is nice, because waiting is you have nothing to do and you can just be. So, you know, on one hand, we're always kind of trying to get moments where there's freedom and space and all this, but then we would have a moment where we have to wait. Then we get upset, isn't it? Waiting seems to be a bad thing. Whereas waiting can be just very pleasant. It's like, okay, nothing to do. So we'll wait a few more minutes and then we can start. You can already start to think whether you have any questions or not to what we discussed about this kind of the structure of the path, devotion to the path, and precious human rebirth. And also to feel how it feels with this waiting kind of thing. If we can train to wait with a relaxed mind. Okay, so do you have any questions about what we discussed? Yeah.
We don't discuss it, but I would like to know if karma is always personal or it can be karma for group, like Israel, like Tibet.
Well, Israel, like a country itself, cannot create karma. Karma means an action of either body, like karma means action. So karma means doing an action with either the body, the speech, or the mind. Okay? So that means individual people creating actions. So it could be that if you like a plane crashing, or let's take something even more global. All of us here have created the causes to have a human body. And what these causes are, we will discuss in this afternoon. So that is what is called collective karma. Now, it doesn't mean that we have created that karma as a group. Doesn't mean that. So a country, of course, cannot create karma because a country doesn't have a body, nor a speech, nor a mind. But then in order for these karmic seeds that are on our mind, for them to ripen, it can be that these people are drawn together as a group, but it doesn't mean that they have created the same actions at the same time in a group. Okay? It just means that they have created the same causes. Same way as you can have seeds for flowers from 10 years ago and seeds from flowers 1 year ago, and they can, if you give them the conditions to ripen, they will ripen at the same time if you put them in the same pot. Yeah? But they need to have the same substance, like that they need to come from the same flowers if you want to have the same flowers. So then it's called collective karma. So we all have the collective karma, or like it's not, we all kind of experience the collective karmic result of being born as humans. which is having had a very ethical life at one point, at least once. Yeah, having been able to keep pure ethics. So we've been very good in the past. Yeah. But then again, it wasn't this me, I here. It was that mind stream who is dynamic and who is changing all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. There is no essence that remains the same in that mind stream. That mind stream changes moment by moment by moment by moment. And that is what we don't perceive. We project something solid, something fixed, something permanent into that continuity of what we are. And this is the mistake. So this is why also when you start to do spiritual practice and meditation, it's good if you, or it's helpful or if it's beneficial if you kind of develop or come up with a deep curiosity about who and what you are. Not so much the world. We learn, like our educational system is that we learn a lot about the world outside there. But there's very little that in schools that we learn about what am I? Who am I? Yes, very, very little. Then if you go into philosophy, then you start to see that also in philosophy very often they explain that there's nothing fixed and happiness is in the mind and all these kinds of things. But that's a special branch of our educational system. Whereas actually in Buddhism, this is the core, this is what you study. Who am I? What am I? And then you start to have this awareness that goes towards inside. And you feel an I, you feel it, this I, me, it usually sits in here, sometimes in the stomach. We think it's in the head, but I never feel my I in the head. I don't know how about you? Because I'm talking about body sensations. We can feel the emotions in the body. And the problem with this is that we feel the emotions in the body and then we want to dissolve them up in the head. It's not possible. This is why mindfulness of body is so important. That you are aware of what's going on in the body, because then you can say what's happening in the mind also, because it manifests itself as certain sensations in the body. So when you develop this very deep curiosity towards your own being, what am I, who am I, what are my priorities, what kind of person do I want to be, you start to look inside, and then big surprise, what do you find? What? For those who have been looking inside. Huh?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. But that nothing, if we really find it, is like, wow. If we find it. And you have mystics who sing songs or poems about it from all traditions. So that's why that's so beautiful. It's this nothing, this not finding of a solid I, me, essence. It's so liberating that mystics from Christianity, I'm sure Judaism also, I don't know, but I know from Christianity, Buddhists, Sufis, whatever, they try to explain it, but they can't because it's above concepts. Because it's not a nothing, okay, nothing. It's actually a nothing that, I don't know what it is. I think it was Hildegard von Bingen who described it as your eyes start to see through the back, like inside. So this is, you see, they're trying to explain it, but it's actually beyond concepts. But it's also that they're not saying, "Ooh, don't look there because it's frightening and it's nothing." They sing happy songs and it's happy poems. Are you familiar with this a little bit when mystics kind of try to explain the essence of what we are when they go very, very deep into their inner being or inner core? Me also, when I'm talking about it, I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't know. It's because it is undescribable. And that's what makes it so difficult, I think, to understand also, because we want something that we can hold on to. We want something, again, it's this, but it's not that. But the moment you start to say it is this, already you have dualism, because if it is this, you also need something that it's not it. So then again, you have a split. Yeah? So this is what makes it kind of complicated. But spiritual practice is all about, it's good to develop a very deep curiosity to go inside and to see who you are and what you are, and then to see what really makes me suffer. What are the things that I dislike? What are my priorities? What kind of qualities do I already have? What kind of qualities do I want to nourish? So this is what it's all about, and then what we practice here, or what we give you here, is tools to be able to discover that. Yeah? And for that you don't need to become a Buddhist. You can use these tools because they are kind of universal. It brings you closer to what reality is. And that reality is not exclusive to Buddhist. But they do use, like as I'm saying, they use Buddhist images, they use Buddhist prayers and all this, but if you want to do without that, you can, and just practice the philosophy is fine. Yeah? But since this is a course called Buddhism from A to Z, we include everything except for the medical system, because Buddhism also has a medical system. And so then you kind of, it's like a department store who has a lot on offer, and you're not getting upset because they sell, I don't know, shoes, but you need a toaster. You just leave the shoes aside and you go to the place where there's toasters. Yeah, so it's a little bit like that. Whatever you find helpful, you take it on board, and whatever you don't find helpful, then you leave it. Becoming aware of our precious situation, do you think that would be helpful in your daily life? It has nothing to do with religion, actually, I think, isn't it? But, just to observe also what happens to the mind when we kind of constantly look at the negative sides, what it does to us, what it does to our inner being. And then also to see what it does to us when we start to look at the positive sides. Yeah. So just to see that difference, and we can train to look at the other side, because Leora just told me about, that area out here. Every year I come for the first time and I see it has not been developed, I go like, oh great, fantastic, because once this is cleaned up, this will be a restaurant. And that's it, we cannot hold the courses in here anymore. Yeah, so while it's still a mess out there, we're kind of okay, because it's a very nice place to do these retreats. It has enough light, the air condition is not too loud, and it's very good, and also we build up some energy in here when we're sitting in here, so yeah. So actually it's a good thing that they're not taking care of that area out there. Yeah. Huh?
We can destroy them and deny.
No, we don't destroy, we don't boycott anything, it's not our place.
We used to have retreats in the other place near the Chadarochi.
Yeah, I know, it's like there's other, but for me, I tell you, I prefer this room here. I feel very comfortable in this room, I don't know about you. Yeah, I feel very, very comfortable. The other one up there, where it sometimes is the Moadon, feels a bit like a Boy Scout.
Not there.
Yeah,
not where the Moadon is.
Yeah, but down there it's very, very big. So if the group is so small, then the energy gets a little bit scattered. I'm not saying this is the only place. I'm just saying, me personally, I feel very comfortable in here. Yeah, also it's close to the rooms, and it's nice. It's clean. It's neat. So that's why I'm saying, every time I come and see nothing has been done, I'm quite happy. For very selfish reasons, you could now say, and it's true. Yeah, because I like this room. Then if it's a restaurant, then of course we move out without too many complaints. So again, this is this thing, it's being unattached or whatever. It doesn't mean that you don't have any preferences, but when the preference is gone, you just adjust to the next one as best as you can, and you get used to the other room also. So that's fine. So with the karma, yes, at the moment we all have created the same causes to have a human body. We didn't create the same causes for you, for the people who are born here, to born in Israel. Me to be born in Switzerland. What exactly these causes are, I don't know. And also in general, one doesn't go and dig up things and you martyr your brain with what did I do so that this is happening to me. You learn the theory, and then you are careful, and you train the mind not to create the causes for future suffering. But if you want to be happy, being happy is not a duty. It's like this is absolutely, again, it's a choice that you can make, and you start to create the causes that do create happiness. And for that we have these guidelines. Okay, right? But it's not a punishment, and it's not a reward. There's nobody sitting there that says, oh, they were bad in their past life, so now I am sending them some punishment. It's not like this. Yeah? So that's very difficult to let go of that view, because even sometimes, me also, I think, when I do something really good, that is kind of effort, and I don't really feel like doing it, but then still I do it, then it's this kind of very subtle view that my teacher or the Buddha now is seeing it. The Buddha is seeing everything all the time. So I should also have this subtle view, hey, be careful, the Buddha is watching. So it's like, it's so difficult to let go of that. Even I grew up kind of not religious. Still, at school you learn what Christianity is all about. So you learn about this God and Jesus and all that. So that's very, very, very deep sitting that somebody's kind of watching. Yeah. So it's quite nice also to learn that a Buddhist mind who is concerned with the well-being of all beings all the time, that these minds, these energies or minds or whatever you want to call them, that they're always there. And they do have some influence on our mind. They're not omnipotent. Same as a therapist. The therapist has an influence on the patient, but still the patient also has to play its part. So sometimes, for me, it's quite nice to know that I'm never alone. The Buddhas are always there. Yeah? So I just need to connect to them. Then it reminds me of the preciousness of this path and what I'm doing. Do you have any other questions? Yes.
Also about karma, I tried to ask it before, but I'm not sure I got any answer for that. So
Okay.
if something is happening to you, how can you define it happening to you? Like, how can you take the credit for it happening to you? I'm not talking about collective things, but like if a mother loses her son.
If my mother was...
If a mother loses her son,
Yeah.
her daughter, so is the bad thing that happened to her? Like she's the one to think about what she done in this life or other life for that to happen to her, or this person was a loved one of others also. So I'm trying to phrase the question as a question because
I don't really understand, to be honest. So.
I don't really understand how can you take the credit for something bad happening for it to happen to you? Like it's a bad thing in general, but how can you know that
You can't.
it has deserved to be blamed?
That's the thing, you cannot know. It's like the karma goes into the category of what is called very hidden phenomena. Do you remember when I talked about the 3 categories of phenomena? Phenomena is an existent is a phenomena. Everything that exists is a phenomena. So there's the category of phenomena that are obvious to us. So again, a simple explanation would be like if you see a house, out of experience you know that this is a house. You don't need to kind of think very hard, what on earth is this? Yeah, so that would be an obvious phenomena that you understand because you know houses and you have made experience of houses, they're there to protect us and for people to live in it, okay? So that is when the Buddha teaches about dukkha, about suffering. We don't need much to understand this and to agree with it that this is true. There is suffering. If we would have a choice, most of us, again, I know there's exceptions, but most of us would not choose that kind of existence. If I could choose to have a mind without any negative emotions, I would definitely choose it. If I could choose to have a body without any pain, I would definitely choose it. Yeah. So there's some people who say, no, I wouldn't, so again, but I think whenever they suffer, mentally or physically, it's good if they rethink that whether they chose to suffer or whether it just came. Okay? So dukkha, this is a phenomena that we can understand. Then the Buddha also taught about emptiness. So that things do not exist in and of themselves, that there's no real objective existence out there, that this, okay, we call a pen, but actually the pen is just, the pen has a basis, which are its parts, a basis of what is called designation, where it needs a mind to call it pen. Then when all this comes together, and this is why it's called, this is a dependent arising, when all this comes together we can call it a pen. But it doesn't appear like this. It appears as if that pen exists separate from my mind out there as a pen. Yeah? So this pen is empty of being a real self-existent thing that doesn't need any causes and conditions to come into existence. That's the emptiness of it. Yeah? So this we can understand. Maybe you have to hear it a few times, and maybe also you have to hear it in Hebrew so that it makes more sense. Yeah, it's quite good to hear these things in your own language. But then we can understand intellectually, even though we don't have a direct experience of it. This pen still appears as if it exists. It can exist without my mind out there somewhere, separate from the mind. It still appears like that. But that's a mistake, right? So even though it still appears like that, I can still understand that even though it appears, it doesn't exist that way. Yeah, like for example, a dream exists. While we are in the dream is very real. But as a matter of fact, that dream is not real. It is just produced by the mind. Yeah. So as opposed to the Buddha, what we're doing now, we're stuck in a dream that our mind is producing, projecting. Okay? We think we are awake, but we're not. We don't see reality. We don't see subtle impermanence. Yeah? We don't understand that pleasures are not happiness. We don't see that there is no self-existent I. We totally believe in what our mind is, what our deluded mind is telling us. Same way, when you're very angry, you totally believe that this person there who made you angry is a bad person. You totally believe it, even though the person maybe saved your life at one point. But that moment when you're angry at the person, then there's not one atom of goodness in that person, while there's the filter of anger. Okay? So I think these kind of things, we don't have a direct experience, but we can understand it. So if you take it back to a normal life, is when you see still the house, you understand the house is an obvious phenomenon. And when you see smoke coming out of the chimney, then you can infer that there's fire in the house. You don't see the fire, but you see the sign, which is smoke, and then you can say, yeah, okay, that is true. So the same thing, when you start to analyze how we view things, and you don't find any pen in the pen, and you don't find any real I or me separate from body and mind, then you can also say, well, emptiness, I don't have a direct perception, but yeah, I think what the Buddha says is true. Okay? Then when it comes to rebirth and karma, this is so far away for us that no matter how much we think, it's what is called the most hidden phenomena. Yeah, emptiness is slightly hidden. We can still, through our intelligence and analysis, we can get at it, we can understand it. But then when it comes down to karma, how that works, and rebirth, it's kind of too far away. Only a Buddha can see, only a fully awakened being can see what you did in the past. But we can, we can trust. When we see that these things that we can check are true, then we start to trust that this is happening to me now. Why? Because that mind stream of mine, not me, because that I at that time did not exist. That I is exclusively to that life. That I, because it's a conceptual construction, at the time of death, it disappears. Yeah? Because also it doesn't exist. It can't even disappear. It doesn't exist. So then, but the mind stream that changes moment by moment by moment by moment must have done something that has created that imprint that now that's the consequence of it. So it's you're right, it is a matter of believing in it or not believing in it. We cannot check it. Is that what you were asking? How can you know? Is it or no?
I think, I think I
Yeah,
understood.
can you
that.
help me?
Yes, I think I understood that. She asked if, for instance, she gave instance, a mother lose her child.
Yeah.
Of course, the child that loses his life, this is not a good karma. When if he was young and like this, for him, it's ripening of negative karma.
Yeah.
But can the mother say that this is also her bad karma that she experiencing losing her child?
Yes.
Is it
Is
right?
that the, yeah? So yes.
I was trying to ask if how can you
She said, how can you take for you? He is the one who loses his wife, his life.
Yeah.
How can she, the mother, say, this is my bad karma?
Because she's got a karmic imprint of losing a child.
And not necessarily mother and child, but I know all kinds of people that when they lose something, not life, object, never mind. So they say, if I lost it,
Okay.
like, I am the one that...
Yeah, you have. Conventionally, you have lost it. Your I, your conventional I now, your combination of body and mind now has lost something that you said is mine. I mean, you know, ultimately it's not mine anyway, because as long as I can lose it, it's not mine. If it would be really mine, I could never lose it. Yeah. So, but we label it mine, and then we lose it. So yeah, I don't. If you again, it's like, what is it? We have to be careful when we say it's bad karma, good karma, and all this. We don't know the results. We never know, because it can look like real bad karma, real. Yep. Now I use the word bad karma, but in the long run, it can come out really good. We don't know. Yeah. First one thinks, wow, this is really bad, but then a really good thing can come out. So that we don't know. Like the Tibetans, for example, if they have difficult situations, they actually say, oh great, finally this is happening, so then that karmic imprint is gone. On top of it, now I can practice patience and compassion, which otherwise I could not. So for them, ripening of negative karma is actually a good thing. But I think a clear misunderstanding of karma here also in the West is when something negative happens to us, we go like, oh, it's my karma. It's some kind of, you know, as if that's been thrown at us by somebody else. And we only say it's my karma. We should say it's a karmic result, because it's not, the headache is not a karma, it's a karmic result. And so we should also start to apply that for positive things happening to us. Yeah? Basically what this law of cause and effect means, or what it says, everything that you do with body, speech and mind at one point creates imprints on the mind, like on the mind stream. And at one point it will ripen as a consequence or as a result. That's basically what it says. Then, as I said, how can you check it? You can't. You can only start to have a view or a belief that yes, this is the way it is, or no, it's everything else, it's just coincidence. You see, if we have a view that some of it I can see, yes, it's a consequence, some of it is not, some of it is just coincidence. Again, it's not really that logic, because it would mean like saying, oh yeah, some fruits, they need a cause and some others, they just grow. Yeah? So in the material world, we understand very well that there is nothing that can exist without a cause. And there's not just one cause, it's cause and contributing conditions that need to come together for the thing to exist. And then also, while it comes into existence, also it exists for a while and it changes, it's dynamic. Everything changes all the time. It's just us who want to have some security and this seemingly permanent I who is kind of clinging to these things and doesn't accept change. This is why I thought that some people bought the book by Tsongsa Khyentse Rinpoche, What Makes Me Not